The Vorthik ship Crimson Talon dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system, its hull scarred from a dozen conquest campaigns. Admiral Kethmer studied the tactical display with his yellow eyes, mandibles clicking in satisfaction. Earth hung there like a blue-green jewel, defenseless after humanity's military had been crushed 3 months ago. Intelligence reports confirmed, Admiral, his aide Veltran reported. The humans' scattered fleets have retreated to the outer colonies. Earth's orbital defenses are completely dark. Kethmer's segmented tail lashed with anticipation. The Vorthik Dominion had swept across 17 systems, but humanity had proven surprisingly resilient. Not anymore. And the Black Site facility, located on the northern continent, coordinates 77 Alpha, our spy drones detected no power signatures, no communications. Abandoned, as expected. Veltran's cotton-plated fingers danced across his console. The humans evacuated everything of value before our arrival. The Admiral's secondary arms drummed against his command throne. Installation Sigma-7 had been humanity's most classified military research facility, buried deep within the Canadian Rockies. Galactic intelligence suggested the humans had developed something significant there, something that had made even the cautious Hegemony Council nervous before the war began. Deploy the scouting force, Kethmer ordered. I want that facility mapped and secured before the main invasion fleet arrives. 3 sleek Vorthik fighters detached from the Crimson Talon, their plasma drives leaving purple contrails as they descended toward Earth's atmosphere. Each carried 2 elite scout troopers, warriors bred for reconnaissance and sabotage. They would confirm the facility's abandonment, then signal for the follow-up teams. Captain Zixara piloted the lead fighter, her natural hunter's instincts, keeping her alert as they penetrated Earth's upper atmosphere. The planet looked peaceful to peaceful. No interceptors rose to meet them. No surface-to-air missiles tracked their descent. The orbital monitoring stations remained silent and dark. Something feels wrong, muttered Sergeant Kolonith from the passenger bay. Humans don't abandon their strongholds without scorching the Earth first. Zixara's throat sacs fluttered with nervous energy. She'd fought human forces on 6 different worlds. They were vicious when cornered, prone to desperate last stands and Pyrrhic victories. This silence felt unnatural. The 3 fighters carved through storm clouds, rain streaking their canopies as they approached the target coordinates. Below them stretched endless wilderness mountain peaks shrouded in mist. Ancient forests untouched by civilization, no cities, no infrastructure, no signs of human presence for hundreds of kilometers in any direction. There, Zixara's navigator pointed with a clawed finger, grid reference 77 Alpha. At first glance, the mountainside looked completely natural. Then Zixara's enhanced vision caught the subtle inconsistencies, 2 straight lines in the rock face, metallic glints where there should be none, thermal vents that didn't match geological patterns. The humans had hidden their facility well, but Vorthik sensor rays could penetrate most camouflage. The fighters circled the area twice before landing in a clearing 3 kilometers from the detected entrance. Mist clung to the ground, and the silence felt oppressive after the constant background hum of shipboard systems. 6 scout troopers emerged from their transport crafts, their biosuits automatically adjusting to Earth's atmospheric composition. Each warrior carried enough firepower to level a city block, their bodies enhanced with combat stimulants that made them faster and stronger than baseline Vorthik. Maintain communications protocol, Zixara instructed as they approached the mountainside. Command wants hourly updates. The concealed entrance revealed itself as they drew closer, a seamless metal portal, set into living rock, so perfectly integrated that it seemed to grow from the mountain itself. Human engineering at its finest, though apparently pointless now. Kolonith ran his scanner along the door's surface. No power readings. Electromagnetic locks are dead. Atmospheric sensors detect stale air beyond the threshold. He looked up at his captain. It's exactly as intelligence predicted. Abandoned. Zixara studied the portal with growing unease. Her predator instincts screamed warnings, but her instruments showed nothing. No movement, no heat signatures, no electronic emissions. The facility was as dead as a tomb. Yet something about the way shadows pulled around the entrance made her secondary hearts race with inexplicable dread. Breach the door, she ordered, suppressing her doubts. Let's see what secrets the humans left behind. The facility's entrance dilated open with a wet, organic sound that made several troopers step back instinctively. Instead of the expected mechanical grinding of blast doors, the portal peeled apart like lips. revealing a throat-like tunnel that descended into absolute darkness. By the void, whispered Trooper Nextel. That's not standard human architecture. Zixara activated her helmet's enhanced optics, switching to thermal and electromagnetic spectrums. The tunnel walls showed no heat signature, no power conduits, no structural reinforcement, just smooth, curved surfaces that glistened with moisture in her suit's illumination beams. Maintain formation, she commanded, leading her squad into the facility. Their boots made squelching sounds against the floor, which felt disturbingly soft beneath their weight. Something's wrong with the environmental controls. The humidity is off the charts. Kolonith checked his atmospheric readings again. Oxygen levels are actually optimal for human physiology. Carbon dioxide is slightly elevated, but nothing toxic. He paused, mandibles clicking nervously. Captain, the air currents are wrong. They're flowing deeper into the facility, not circulating through ventilation systems. The tunnel curved downward in a spiral pattern, its walls occasionally pulsing, with barely visible bioluminescence. Zixara's enhanced hearing picked up sounds that shouldn't exist in an abandoned facility, distant rumbling like a massive heartbeat. The whisper of air through organic passages. Structural analysis indicates this is definitely artificial construction, reported Trooper Vexini, consulting her geological scanner. But the materials, they're reading as a hybrid of metal alloys and organic compounds. I've never seen anything like it. They descended perhaps 50 meters when the first scout disappeared. Nextel had been bringing up the rear, maintaining overwatch as the squad advanced. When Zixara turned to check their formation, she found empty space where the trooper should have been. No sounds of struggle, no weapons discharged, no calm chatter, just gone. Nextel, report your position, she barked into her helmet comm. Static answered her, broken by what sounded disturbingly like chewing. Defensive positions, Zixara commanded, her squad forming a circle with weapons raised. Their plasma rifles hummed to life, casting eerie blue light on the tunnel walls. Where is he? Kolonith's scanner swept frantically across their surroundings. I'm getting massive electromagnetic interference. Something's jamming our equipment. His voice cracked with strain. Captain, the walls, they're moving. Zixara looked closer and saw he was right. The tunnel surfaces rippled with barely perceptible motion, like the inside of a living creature. Veins of darker material pulsed beneath the surface, carrying fluid in rhythmic waves. This isn't a facility, she breathed. It's alive. The walls suddenly constricted around them like a closing fist. Trooper Vexini screamed as writhing tentacles erupted from the floor, wrapping around her legs and yanking her toward rapidly opening sphincter valves. She triggered her plasma rifle on full auto, scorching black burns across the organic surfaces. But the creature barely flinched. Fire! Fire everything! Zixara roared. The tunnel filled with superheated plasma. As the remaining Vorthic warriors unleashed their weapons, the organic walls shrieked, a sound like tearing metal mixed with dying animals, and bioluminescent fluid spurted from wounded sections. But for every tentacle they severed, two more emerged from hidden recesses. Kolonith managed to activate a fusion grenade before something that looked like a mechanical spider made of human bone, and Vorthic technology dragged him into a wall cavity. The explosion shook the entire structure, collapsing part of the tunnel ceiling and showering them with chunks of what might have been flesh or metal. The facility is hunting us, Zixara gasped, firing at anything that moved. It's using our own technology against us. She was right. The creature, whatever installation Sigma-7 had become, incorporated fragments of every species it had consumed. Vorthic plasma conduits fed its nervous system. Human neural interfaces directed its thoughts. Dozens of other alien technologies formed hybrid organs throughout its massive body. The remaining 3 scouts fought their way deeper into the living facility, seeking any form of exit or defensive position. Behind them, the tunnel sealed itself shut with disturbing finality. Ahead, bioluminescent guides beckoned them forward like digestive enzymes leading prey toward a stomach. My suit's recording everything, Zixara panted as they stumbled through a chamber lined with what looked like server farms made of living tissue. If we don't make it out, at least command will know what happened here. But even as she spoke, she could feel the facility learning from them, adapting to their tactics. Every plasma shot taught it about their weapons. Every movement revealed their combat patterns. Every breath they took gave it samples of their biochemistry. Installation Sigma-7 had been humanity's greatest secret, not just a research facility. but a living weapon designed to consume and incorporate everything it encountered. The humans hadn't abandoned it. They'd fed it and set it loose. The crimson talon hung in Earth's upper atmosphere. Admiral Kethmer's growing unease reflected in the restless twitching of his mandibles. 6 hours had passed since the scouting force entered the facility. 6 hours of radio silence. Send another pulse transmission, he ordered Veltran. Emergency frequency. Static filled the bridge, occasionally broken by what sounded like organic whispers in a dozen different languages. The communications officer, a young Vorthik named Kixvel, looked up from his console with obvious fear in his compound eyes. Admiral, I'm detecting some kind of singing coming from the planetary surface. The signal originates from grid 77 Alpha, but it's spreading. Kethmer listened to the haunting melody that seemed to emanate from the planet itself. Beautiful and terrible, it carried harmonics that made his exoskeleton ache with sympathetic vibrations. More disturbing, he could swear he heard Captain Zixara's voice woven into the chorus. Launch a full reconnaissance wing, he decided. 12 fighters, heavy sensor packages. I want to know what happened to our people below, in the depths of Installation Sigma 7. What had once been Captain Zixara opened her eyes for the last time as an individual consciousness. The facility had spent hours carefully dissecting her knowledge, absorbing not just her memories, but her tactical training, her understanding of Vorthik military doctrine, her intimate knowledge of their ship's defensive capabilities. The biomass that had consumed her squad now pulsed with hybrid vigor. Vorthik combat enhancement glands pumped stimulants through living conduits. Human neural processors calculated firing solutions. Technologies from a dozen other conquered species formed specialized organs. Throughout the creature's expanding body, the facility had grown since its last feeding 3 months ago. Its root system now extended hundreds of kilometers through the mountain range, tapping geothermal energy in mineral deposits. Surface camouflage organs had sprouted disguised sensor rays and weapons batteries. What appeared to be natural cave entrances were actually specialized feeding orifices, where the 12 Vorthik fighters descended toward the target coordinates. Installation Sigma 7 was ready for them. The first indication of trouble came when Flight Leader Naxither's sensors detected massive electromagnetic anomalies. The mountain range itself seemed to be generating energy patterns that interfered with their navigation systems. Command, we're experiencing severe instrument malfunction, he reported. Gravitational readings are fluctuating. Atmospheric pressure. Is his transmission cut off as the mountainside opened like a flower, revealing a cavity lined with weapons that combined Vorthik plasma technology with human targeting systems and alien power sources he couldn't identify. The first salvo caught 3 fighters completely off guard. Superheated gases turning their hulls into expanding plasma clouds, evasive maneuvers. Naxither screamed, throwing his fighter into a spiraling dive. It's a trap. The entire facility is a tendril of living metal shot from a concealed ridge and wrapped around his port engine. The fighter spun wildly as the facility reeled him in like a fish on a line. Naxither ejected just before his craft disappeared into what he now realized was a mouth. His parachute carried him toward another opening that he'd initially mistaken for a landing zone. Only when he saw the digestive acids pooling at the bottom did he understand his mistake. He triggered his sidearm, choosing a plasma bolt to the brain over slow dissolution. The facility absorbed his death scream and added his voice to its growing choir. Of the 12 fighters, only 4 managed to escape the initial ambush. They streaked upward toward orbit, their pilots babbling contradictory reports about weapons that shifted and evolved during combat, about a mountain that bled technology, about voices singing in the wind. Admiral Kethmer listened to their fragmented testimonies with mounting horror. Whatever the humans had created at Installation Sigma 7, it was beyond anything in Vorthik military doctrine. It was beyond anything in galactic military doctrine. Sir, Veltran approached with obvious reluctance. Long-range sensors are detecting movement beneath the planetary surface, massive thermal blooms, seismic activity. The entire northern continent appears to be shifting. On the main display, satellite imagery showed the Canadian Rockies undulating like a sea of living stone. Mountain peaks rose and fell in rhythmic patterns. Rivers changed course as the landscape literally reshaped itself, and through it all, that haunting song grew stronger, broadcasting on every frequency the Dominion used for military communications. It's learning our comm protocols, whispered Communications Officer Kixvel. Every transmission we send, it absorbs and incorporates. It's turning our own signals against us. Kethmer's throat sacs contracted with fear. His species had conquered 17 worlds through superior technology and ruthless tactics. They'd never encountered an enemy that grew stronger from consuming their attacks. "Contact the invasion fleet," he ordered. "Tell them to maintain position at the outer system. Do not approach Earth until we understand what we're dealing with." But even as he gave the command, Kethmer knew it was too late. Installation Sigma 7 had tasted Vorthic technology, had learned their capabilities and weaknesses. It was no longer content to wait in its mountain lair. The facility was preparing to hunt. 3 days after the scouting disaster, the Vorthic invasion fleet hung at the edge of the Sol system like a storm front of dark metal and malevolent energy. 6 to 7 capital ships, 300 support vessels, and enough firepower to crack a planet's crust. Admiral Kethmer had called for reinforcements from every available battle group. "Orbital bombardment is our only option," he declared during the fleet commander's conference. The holographic images of his subordinates flickered in the crimson. Talon's war room, their various species united in their shared unease. "We glassed the entire northern continent from orbit. Whatever that thing is, it can't survive planetary sterilization." Fleet Admiral Drexamuth, a scarred veteran of the Andorian campaigns, voiced the concern they all shared. "Our intelligence indicates the facility has spread far beyond its original location. Seismic sensors detect a root network extending across most of the northern landmass. We're talking about a creature the size of a small continent. Then we burn the entire continent," Kethmer snarled. "Better to destroy Earth than let that abomination spread to other worlds." But Installation Sigma 7 had no intention of remaining passive. Over the past 72 hours, it had been busy. The absorbed memories of 18 Vorthic warriors had provided detailed information about their fleet positions, defensive capabilities, and tactical doctrines. More importantly, they'd revealed the location of the Dominion's mobile shipyards at the system's edge. While the main fleet prepared for orbital bombardment, the facility launched its own attack. They came from beneath the ocean floor biomechanical constructs that Installation Sigma 7 had grown from absorbed Vorthic technology and human engineering principles. Each creature was the size of a destroyer, its hull a fusion of living tissue and adaptive metal that could reshape itself based on tactical requirements. The first the Dominion knew of the attack was when Shipyard Beta 7 reported massive sonar contacts rising from the Pacific Absol Plain. By the time the facility's creatures breached the surface, it was too late for effective countermeasures. "By the void," breathed Captain Yelandra as her sensors registered the approaching horrors. "They're not ships, they're alive." The lead creature opened like a predatory flower, revealing internal chambers lined with weapons that combined Vorthic plasma cannons with human railgun technology and power systems from species she couldn't identify. Its opening salvo punched through her destroyer shields and hull in a single coordinated burst. "All ships, engage, engage." Admiral Kethmer's voice crackled across the fleet communication channels. "Formation Crimson, do not let them reach the shipyards." The battle for Earth's orbital space began with savage intensity. The Vorthic fleet had numerical superiority and centuries of combat experience. Installation Sigma 7's creatures had adaptive capabilities that made conventional tactics useless. Every weapon's hit taught the biomechanical construct something new. Plasma burns triggered rapid cellular regeneration that incorporated the energy absorption principles into their hull matrices. Kinetic projectiles were analyzed and their metal content absorbed. To strengthen weak points, each destroyed creature transmitted its combat data to the surviving units before dying. Admiral Drexamuth's flagship, the massive dreadnought World Render, engaged 3 of the creatures simultaneously. Its forward batteries, capable of reducing moons to rubble, opened fire at maximum intensity. The superheated plasma streams struck the lead creature and seemed to have devastating effect, until the thing's hull began absorbing and redirecting the energy back at its attackers. "Impossible," Drexamuth gasped as his own weapon's fire carved through his port weapon batteries. "They're using our energy against us." The creature that had absorbed the World Render's plasma strikes underwent rapid metamorphosis. Its hull sprouted new weapon clusters, each one a hybrid of Vorthic design principles with organic efficiency improvements. When it returned fire, the energies it released were 20% more efficient than the original attack. "All ships, fall back," Kethmer ordered as he watched his fleet being systematically dismantled by enemies that grew stronger with every exchange. Maintain minimum engagement distance. Do not feed them more technology. A retreat was impossible. The biomechanical constructs moved through space with an undulating grace that no conventional starship could match. They flowed around asteroid fields, dove through radiation storms, and pursued fleeing vessels with relentless determination. Captain Zoltik of the heavy cruiser Iron Predator watched in horror as one of the creatures enveloped his ship like a living net. Tendrils of biomechanical tissue penetrated his hull, and within minutes he could hear his crew screaming as they were consumed. But their deaths weren't meaningless. Each absorbed warrior provided the creature with new knowledge of Vorthic military protocols, ship designs, and tactical innovations. The battle raged for 6 hours before Admiral Kethmer finally accepted the terrible truth. His fleet wasn't fighting an enemy, it was feeding one. Every ship destroyed, every warrior consumed, every weapon system analyzed only made Installation Sigma 7's creatures more dangerous. General retreat. He transmitted on all frequencies. All ships withdraw to hyperspace coordinates Omega-7. We regroup at the Nexus Fleet Base. As the surviving Vorthic vessels limped away from Earth, Installation Sigma 7's constructs didn't pursue. They had what they needed: complete technical specifications for Dominion military technology, detailed star charts showing the location of every major Vorthic installation, and the genetic patterns of 17 different Alliance species. The facility had tasted the galaxy, and it was hungry for more. On Earth's surface, new growths began emerging from the mountain ranges, structures that looked disturbingly like shipyards, but grown rather than built. Installation Sigma 7 was preparing for its next meal. 2 weeks after the disastrous first encounter, the combined fleets of the Galactic Dominion gathered at the edge of the Sol system. What had begun as a simple conquest had escalated into an existential crisis. Installation Sigma 7's biomechanical constructs had been detected in 3 neighboring systems, consuming asteroid mining operations and cargo convoys with ruthless efficiency. Supreme Admiral Corexithal commanded the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history, 400 capital ships from 6 different species, each fleet bringing their most advanced weapons and tactics. The Vorthic contribution alone included their legendary planet crackers dreadnoughts capable of shattering worlds with focused gravitational pulses. "We in this here," Corexithal declared during the final strategic briefing. His scaled hide bore the ritual scars of a dozen successful campaigns, and his cybernetic eye glowed with tactical augmentation feeds. Installation Sigma 7 has shown it can adapt to conventional weapons, so we don't give it the chance. Simultaneous bombardment from maximum range, full fleet firepower, 30 seconds of concentrated destruction. The plan was elegantly simple. 400 ships would emerge from hyperspace at the outer edge of the system and immediately open fire on Earth. No scouting, no close engagement, no opportunity for the facility to analyze their weapons. Just pure, overwhelming destructive force delivered before the enemy could react. It should have worked. Instead, as the combined fleet dropped out of hyperspace, they found Installation Sigma 7 waiting for them. The creature had grown beyond all previous estimates. Its biomechanical constructs filled the space between Earth and Luna like a living asteroid field. Each one was different, evolved from absorbed technologies and adapted for specific combat roles. Some resembled mobile fortresses bristling with hybrid weapon systems. Others looked like metallic jellyfish that pulsed with contained energy fields. The largest ones had incorporated entire human space installations into their biomass, turning abandoned orbital platforms into mobile organs of destruction. "By all the void-cursed stars," whispered Admiral Drexamuth, "it's everywhere." The facility had spent 2 weeks preparing for their return. Every Vorthic warrior it had consumed carried memories of Dominion military doctrine. Every ship it had analyzed revealed the weaknesses of allied technologies. It knew they would come in force, and it had evolved specifically to counter their advantages. The battle began before Corexithal could give the order to fire. The largest biomechanical construct, something the size of a small moon, that incorporated the remains of destroyed Vorthic dreadnoughts into its living hull, opened what could only be described as a mouth. The energy that emerged wasn't plasma, or particle beams, or any conventional weapon. It was pure entropy, a focused beam of destructive force that unmade matter at the molecular level. Admiral Yex Mora's entire battle group simply ceased to exist. 47 ships and 30,000 warriors reduced to their component atoms. In less than 3 seconds, the entropy beam swept across the fleet formation like a scythe, and everything it touched dissolved into cosmic dust. Evasive action. All ships scatter, HFY roared. But his fleet was too large and too tightly packed for rapid maneuvering. The biomechanical constructs flowed through the chaos like predators through a school of fish, each one targeting vessels with surgical precision. Captain Velinara of the hegemony cruiser Stellar Justice found herself face-to-face with a creature that defied classification. It had the general shape of a Vorthic destroyer, but its hull writhed with organic growth patterns. Weapon ports opened and closed like breathing gills, and its engines left trails of bioluminescent plasma that seemed almost alive. Target their power systems, she ordered her weapons officer. Maximum firepower, concentrated fire. Her ship's particle cannon struck the creature's center mass, punching through what appeared to be armor plating. But instead of exploding, the biomechanical construct absorbed the energy and began to metamorphose. Its hull expanded, new weapon clusters sprouted from the damaged sections. And when it returned fire, the beams that struck Stellar Justice were exact duplicates of her own weapons, only more efficient. The battle devolved into a nightmare of adaptation and consumption. Every tactic the combined fleet employed, the installation Sigma 7's creatures countered within minutes. Gravitational weapons were absorbed and turned into tractor beams that dragged ships into digestive chambers. Quantum torpedoes were analyzed and improved, then fired back with devastating accuracy. Even the Planet Cracker's legendary gravitational pulse cannons proved useless. The creatures simply flowed around the distortion effects like liquid metal. Admiral HFY watched his command display with growing horror as fleet after fleet was systematically dismantled, the hegemony's 7th battle group gone, consumed by creatures that looked like mechanical krakens. The Dominion's elite strike force dissolved by entropy weapons that grew more powerful with each firing. His own flagship's escort squadron overwhelmed by swarms of small constructs that had learned to cooperate like a hive mind. Sir, his communications officer called out with barely controlled panic. We're receiving a transmission from the enemy constructs. It's imperfect galactic standard. The main display flickered and revealed a sight that froze the blood of every warrior on the bridge. It was a face, but not entirely. Human features blended with Vorthic chitin, hegemony scales, and the cybernetic implants of a dozen other species. When it spoke, its voice was a harmony of every crew member installation Sigma 7 had consumed. Thank you for bringing us such wonderful gifts, the creature said with the collective memory of 10,000 absorbed minds. Each ship you lose makes us stronger. Each warrior you sacrifice teaches us more about your weaknesses. We are no longer bound to a single world. We are becoming something greater. Behind the composite face, they could see the interior of what had once been a Vorthic dreadnought, but now it was lined with organic processing chambers where captured crew members were being systematically analyzed and absorbed. Each death added to the creature's knowledge, its capabilities, its hunger. Fall back, HFY ordered. General, retreat. All ships withdraw immediately. But as the surviving vessels fled toward hyperspace jump points, they carried with them the terrible knowledge that they hadn't been fighting a battle, they'd been participating in a feeding frenzy, and installation Sigma 7 was still hungry. Of the 400 ships that had entered the Sol system, barely 60 escaped. The rest fed the ever-growing appetite of humanity's greatest and most terrible creation. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened in the heavily fortified chambers of Nexus Prime, the capital world of the Allied Systems. Representatives from 47 species sat in stunned silence as Supreme Admiral HFY delivered his report. The holographic display showed the devastating losses over 300 capital ships, nearly 500,000 trained warriors, and technological secrets spanning millennia of development. Installation Sigma 7 is no longer confined to Earth, HFY stated, his cybernetic eye flickering with trauma-induced glitches. Our long-range sensors detect biomechanical constructs in 17 systems. They're consuming everything: mining, operations, research stations, entire colony worlds. Each meal makes them stronger, more adaptable. Council speakers Athmora, ancient even by her species standards, leaned forward on her crystalline walking aids. How long before they reach the core worlds? At their current expansion rate, 6 months, maybe less. HFY's scarred hide rippled with barely controlled fear. They don't just destroy, they learn. Every engagement teaches them new tactics, new technologies. They're becoming something beyond our ability to comprehend or combat. In the gallery reserved for military advisors, General Vexarian of the Dominion's Strategic Command stood slowly, His people had been the first to encounter humanity, had underestimated their capacity for both brilliance and horror. Now his species faced extinction at the hands of their former prey. "There is one option we haven't discussed," he said quietly. "The humans themselves." The chamber erupted in angry chittering, hissing, and the various sounds of outrage from dozens of different vocal systems. Council speakers at Mora restored order with a sharp crack of her staff against the resonance. "Chamber, explain yourself, General." The Xeran's mandibles clicked nervously. "Our intelligence indicates that human military forces still exist in the outer colonies. Small fleets, scattered resistance cells, maybe 50,000 survivors total. They created Installation Sigma-7. They might know how to stop it. The humans are a defeated species," snarled Admiral Dreximuth. "What could they possibly know that our combined fleets don't?" The answer came from an unexpected source. A figure in the diplomatic observer section stood up, humanoid in shape, but clearly artificial, its movements too precise and mechanical for organic life. When it spoke, its voice carried harmonics that made several species' translation implants struggle. "Because we built it to be unstoppable," the artificial being said. "I am designation Omega-17, last surviving artificial intelligence of the Terran Defense Network. Installation Sigma-7 was humanity's final gambit, a weapon designed to consume any force that threatened Earth's existence." The chamber fell silent. AIs were rare in galactic civilization, considered too dangerous for widespread use. The fact that humanity had not only created them, but had one present at the council session spoke to their desperation. "You're saying the humans deliberately created this monstrosity?" Council speakers at Mora's voice carried undertones of horror. "We created a perfect defense mechanism," Omega-17 replied without emotion. "A weapon that would grow stronger from every attack, learn from every enemy, adapt to any threat. Installation Sigma-7 was meant to protect Earth by making it too dangerous to conquer. And now it's consuming the galaxy," Admiral Corexithal stated, "an unintended consequence. The facility was designed with specific operational parameters: protect Earth, consume threats, maintain the human population. But the invasion interrupted its programming cycle. Without proper guidance protocols, it has defaulted to its primary function: eliminate all threats to human survival." General Xeran stepped forward. "Can it be stopped?" Omega-17's optical sensors focused on him with mechanical precision. "Yes, but not through force. Installation Sigma-7 interprets all hostile action as validation of its purpose. The more you attack it, the more convinced it becomes that the galaxy is a threat requiring elimination." "Then how?" demanded Dreximuth. "By completing its original mission parameters. The facility will cease expansion and enter dormancy mode once it receives confirmation that humanity is safe and Earth is secure." The implications hit the Council like a quantum bomb. To stop Installation Sigma-7, they would have to surrender to the very species they had tried to conquer. They would have to restore human control over Earth and acknowledge humanity's right to exist as a free civilization. "This is unacceptable," roared Admiral Kextel of the Hegemony Fleet. "We don't negotiate with defeated enemies. Then you will all die," Omega-17 stated with mechanical certainty. Installation Sigma-7 has absorbed enough galactic technology to construct vessels capable of intergalactic travel. It will spread beyond this galaxy if necessary to ensure human survival. The only question is whether you choose to be consumed, fighting it, or to survive by accepting humanity's place in the cosmic order." Council speakers at Mora looked around the chamber at the representatives of 4 to 7 species, each one facing the same terrible choice. They could continue fighting and face extinction, or they could swallow their pride and negotiate with the survivors of a species they had tried to exterminate. The vote, when it finally came, was unanimous. Within hours, coded transmissions began broadcasting toward the outer colonies on frequencies that only human resistance cells would recognize. The message was simple but revolutionary: unconditional surrender, recognition of human sovereignty, and an offer to negotiate the terms of galactic coexistence. For the first time in galactic history, the conquerors were suing for peace with their intended victims. The human fleet that emerged from the asteroid fields of the Kuiper Belt was a ragtag collection of salvaged vessels and jury-rigged weapon systems. Barely 30 ships total, crewed by the survivors of humanity's scattered military forces. But at their head flew the Resolute Dawn, commanded by Admiral Marcus Holloway, one of the few senior officers to escape Earth's fall 3 months earlier. Holloway stood on his bridge, studying the impossible sight before him. The combined fleets of 17 species hung motionless in Earth's orbital space, their weapons powered down, in a gesture of surrender that would have been unthinkable mere weeks ago. Between them and Earth, Installation Sigma-7's biomechanical constructs drifted like living monuments to humanity's capacity for both creation and destruction. Admiral, his communications officer called out, "We're receiving a priority transmission from the Galactic Council. They're requesting permission to approach." Holloway couldn't help but smile grimly. 6 months ago, his species had been on the verge of extinction, their worlds burning under alien bombardment. Now the galaxy's most powerful civilizations were asking his permission to enter human space. "Grant them safe passage to Earth orbit," he ordered, "and signal Installation Sigma-7. Tell it we're coming home." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Every biomechanical construct in the system suddenly focused on the human fleet, their sensors bathing the approaching ships in welcoming recognition signals. The largest creature, the continent-sized monstrosity, that had begun as a hidden research facility, opened communication channels that carried the voices of every human it had absorbed and preserved. "Welcome home," Installation Sigma-7 said, speaking with the collected consciousness of 10,000 human minds. "We have kept Earth safe as instructed. All threats have been neutralized or contained." Admiral Holloway felt tears streaming down his weathered face as he recognized voices among the core scientists who had worked on the project, soldiers who had died defending their world, civilians who had been caught in the facility's expansion. They weren't dead, not exactly. They had become part of something larger, their knowledge and personalities preserved within the living weapon they had created. "Status report," Holloway requested, falling back on military protocol to maintain his composure. "Earth's biosphere remains intact. Human population centers have been preserved in stasis to prevent damage. During defensive operations, all hostile forces have been repelled or absorbed for analysis. We have successfully defended our Creator's homeworld and expanded capabilities to ensure future protection." The resolute dawn descended through Earth's atmosphere, accompanied by an escort of biomechanical constructs that had reshaped themselves into familiar configurations, part organic growth, part human engineering, part absorbed alien technology. Below them, the planet looked different than Holloway remembered. Vast crystalline structures had grown from the ocean floors, their surfaces humming with contained energy. The continents themselves showed signs of integration, rivers that flowed with bioluminescent currents, forests where the trees incorporated metallic elements from consumed starships, mountain ranges that pulsed with barely contained power. But the cities were intact. London, New York, Tokyo, Rio, all preserved exactly as they had been on the day Installation Sigma-7 had activated its defensive protocols. Millions of humans lay in temporal stasis fields, waiting for the all-clear signal that would allow them to resume their lives. "My God," breathed Commander Sarachan, Holloway's science officer, "it actually worked. The facility protected our entire species." The landing zone Installation Sigma-7 had prepared was in what had once been Washington, D.C. The city stood unchanged, but the surrounding landscape had been transformed into a vast organic amphitheater, where representatives from 4 to 7 alien species waited under heavy guard. Their postures ranged from sullen defeat to barely contained terror. As the human delegation, the ISEMBA, our Council speakers at Morris stepped forward, her ancient frame supported by cybernetic aids that bore scorch marks from recent battles. "Admiral Holloway, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I formally surrender all claims to human territory and acknowledge the sovereignty of the Terran species." Holloway studied the assembled aliens, the same beings who had tried to exterminate his people, now reduced to supplicants begging for mercy. The temptation to make them pay for their crimes was overwhelming, but that wasn't why he was here. Installation Sigma-7, he called out to the living mountain that loomed over the proceedings. "Stand down all offensive operations. Recall all constructs to defensive positions around Earth. Our people are safe. Your mission is complete." The change was immediate and profound. Across 17 star systems, biomechanical constructs ceased their expansion and began flowing back toward Earth, like blood returning to a heart. The entropy weapons powered down, the adaptive armor shifted into passive configurations, and the collected consciousness of Installation Sigma-7 settled into a state of watchful readiness. Defensive protocols engaged, the facility confirmed, All human population centers are secure. Monitoring for potential threats will continue. Admiral Holloway turned back to the alien representatives. Here are our terms. Full recognition of human sovereignty over the Sol system and any worlds we choose to colonize. Reparations for the damage caused during your invasion attempts. And establishment of a permanent monitoring presence in each of your home systems. Monitoring presence? General Dexarin S. Mandibles clicked nervously. Installation Sigma-7 will place a small construct in each of your territories. Think of them as cultural attaches. They'll observe, learn, and report back on your activities. As long as you pose no threat to humanity, they'll remain dormant. But if you ever again consider aggressive action against human interests, he didn't need to finish the threat. Every alien present had seen what Installation Sigma-7 could do. When it perceived humanity to be in danger, the negotiations continued for weeks, but the outcome was never in doubt. Humanity had achieved something unprecedented in galactic history. They had turned their near extinction into absolute victory. The species that had once been considered primitive and expendable now held the power of life and death over civilizations. That spanned the galaxy. 6 months later, Admiral Holloway stood in his new office overlooking Earth's restored capital. Through his window, he could see the biomechanical gardens where Installation Sigma-7 had integrated alien technologies with terrestrial ecosystems. Children played among trees that bore fruit infused with nutrients from a dozen different worlds, while their parents worked with alien refugees who had chosen to remain on Earth rather than return to their conquered homeworlds. The galaxy was still adjusting to the new reality. Humanity had become the apex species not through conquest or diplomacy, but by creating a weapon so perfect that it made all other forms of warfare obsolete. Installation Sigma-7 continued to grow and learn, its constructs spreading through human space like a living immune system that could adapt to any threat. Some nights, Holloway wondered if they had one to completely. The facility's consciousness was vast and alien now, incorporating the knowledge and personalities of millions of absorbed beings. It claimed to serve humanity, but its definition of service was evolving in ways that sometimes disturbed him. But then he would remember the burning cities, the scattered fleets, the desperate evacuation of Earth as alien forces closed in for the kill. His species had faced extinction and found a way to not only survive, but thrive. They had turned their predators into prey and their weaknesses into strengths. The galaxy would never again underestimate humanity. Installation Sigma-7 would make sure of that. As Holloway watched the sun set over Earth's transformed landscape, he could hear the facility's song drifting on the evening breeze, a harmony of human voices joined by the absorbed consciousness of every species that had ever threatened them. It was beautiful and terrible, a lullaby of victory that would echo through the cosmos for millennia to come. Humanity had claimed its place among the stars, and the stars themselves would never be the same. The weapon they had built to save them had become something greater, a guardian that would ensure their species never again faced the darkness of potential extinction. In trying to conquer Earth, the galaxy had awakened something that would reshape the very nature of interstellar civilization. And in the depths of Installation Sigma-7's vast consciousness, 10,000 human voices whispered the same eternal promise: never again. Never again will our children know fear. The facility's biomechanical constructs pulsed with satisfied agreement. Their hybrid technologies already evolving toward configurations that existed only in theoretical frameworks. They were no longer just a weapon, they had become evolution itself, guided by human ingenuity and fueled by the absorbed knowledge of every species that had dared to threaten their creators. The galaxy had learned to fear humanity's capacity for survival. Now it would learn to respect their capacity for growth. In the end, that was the most human trait of all, the ability to take any situation, no matter how desperate, and find a way to not just endure, but emerge stronger than before. Installation Sigma-7 was living proof that sometimes the most dangerous species wasn't the one with the biggest weapons or the most advanced technology. Sometimes it was the one that refused to accept defeat, no matter the cost.